because of the starkness of the 9/11 event, that caused our complete attention to be focused there. And when our attention as a society was focused on that one event, then people began to realize that, wait a minute now, if everybody's looking at this and nobody's looking at that, maybe we could do a little bit of that. This is much more evident in the COVID response, where the power play is so much more naked. I believe that the events after 9/11 were done in good faith. Looking back on them, I think they were mistakes. And the reason they were mistakes is because the TSA, which was put in place, whether it was effective or not, to deal with the threat, when the threat went away, the protection mechanism didn't. The TSA will never go away. As I said, last test they did 5% they caught, but it will never go away. We will always be removing our shoes, and we'll be removing our belts, and we'll be body searching 4-year-olds and taking grannies over and having them searched and questioned at random while likely suspects get on the plane. That's never going to stop, because once that reduction of freedom has been put into place, the government has a burning desire to keep those restrictions in place because it increases their power, and more prosaically, because it provides salaries for the standing army of people that we have at work for TSA and for the bureaucrats that basically run TSA and all the rest of it. In the COVID pandemic, looking back at our actions, it's not that we did everything wrong, but we were so focused on the potential harm of the problem that we essentially spent no time worrying about the potential harm of the cure. And when I say we, I'm talking about society in general. In the case of the COVID-19 pandemic, the prestidigitation was done by the media at the behest of the politicians, basically the same thing these days. Never let a crisis go to waste. Why is that such a profoundly insightful look into the progressive mind? Why would somebody say something like that? It would never occur to me to say something like that, but why do progressives just rally around this idea of never let a crisis go to waste? What does that mean? What does it mean? Well, what it really means is that a crisis, whether it's an induced one or whether it's an external one, a crisis serves as the distraction necessary for them to accomplish things that they would never be able to accomplish if our attention had not been focused on one specific event. Progressives today admire China in exactly the same way as politicians, mostly left-wing politicians, admired Hitler before Hitler finally committed enough atrocities for them to finally pay attention and realize they're at war. We are not in the appeasement stage yet. The appeasement stage comes when you realize that you have a threat and you try to pacify the threat. We haven't gotten there yet. We're still in the cooperation phase with China. So as China perceives the weakness of the United States, and watching Joe Biden climb a flight of stairs or make a speech is not exactly something that is going to undermine the resolve of Chinese officials, what we will see is that the United States will continue to cooperate with China, allow them to steal our technical secrets and all the rest, allow them to grow their economy, spend enormous amounts on their military. We're watching the Chinese military constantly improving in precisely the same way that the British and the French watched the Germans rearm and improve their military to the point where they had a superior military. Watched it happen in front of their eyes, didn't do anything. So the era of appeasement has not come yet. We are still in the era of cooperation. After China does enough to finally get people aware of the fact that they are not our friends, then we will start to try to buy them off, and then we will start to appease them, and we'll offer them things if they would only stop their naughty behavior. And after we go through a few years of that, then finally, like Hitler and like tyrants everywhere before them, the Chinese Communist Party will be so convinced of our utter decadence and weakness and death wish that they'll do something serious. And in my opinion, it's not going to be China invading Poland. It's going to be going and getting that pesky island of Taiwan back, which is a great embarrassment to them. And then, guess what's going to happen? Then we're going to find ourselves in a shooting war. And we're going to find ourselves in a shooting war on our back foot. We're going to find ourselves in a shooting war with much of our advantage gone. And then, after that, we will, if history continues to teach us the same lessons again and again and again, then eventually we will prevail. And we will prevail because we have what every liberal democracy has, and I mean that in the classical sense of the word. We have hidden strengths and extremely obvious weaknesses. All of the weaknesses of division and all the weaknesses of democracy, all the weaknesses of decadence, all the weaknesses of all of this stuff, transgendered bathrooms and racist soap dispensers, all of this frivolity is going to burn away. And then the people who see the strength in totalitarianism are going to realize what history has shown us every time, that when it comes down to fighting, when you push a democracy far enough, then the democracy changes, and it changes into something that is unbeatable. It's unbeatable. When you take America to war, you can't stop America at war because free people fight better than slaves do. And that's just the truth.